Broadcasting from the Allen B. Levan NSU Broward Center of Innovation at Nova Southeastern University. Welcome to Sunshine Startups Live, featuring rockstar entrepreneurs, bright ideas, and experts on the startup ecosystem. And now your hosts of Sunshine Startups Live, Jim Ryan and John Wensveen.
Hi, and welcome to another great episode of Sunshine Startups Live. I'm your host, entrepreneur, investor, and startup enthusiast, Jim Ryan. Great to be broadcasting from the Innovation Center and joined with my good friend and partner in crime here, John Wensveen. John, great to have you again here.
Just for clarity, there's no crime occurring. Okay.
Not yet.
All right. Well, hi, I'm John Wensveen, Chief Innovation Officer here at Nova Southeastern University. We're the largest research university in the state of Florida and Executive Director of the Levan Center of Innovation, the world's first theme park for entrepreneurs, where we support the founder's journey from birth of an idea through successful exit or global expansion. And I'm very excited about the guest that we have with us right now.
And Michael O'Donnell, now that you heard John's pitch for the Levan Center, would you say he's refined that, and would you give him A marks for that pitch?
Absolutely would. And it's just so good to have that kind of resource in the state of Florida.
It is, for sure. And I'm really excited to have you here, Michael O'Donnell, CEO of the Leaves Legacy Project. And I've known Michael for a few years. Michael's got a great background in entrepreneurship, a mentor, educator, and now a more senior fellow with joining the gray-haired crew with John and I, and doing a startup again, which is really exciting to hear about. So, Michael, first of all, welcome to the podcast, and great to have you with us.
So good to be here. Thank you, gentlemen.
So, Michael, I want to talk a little bit about winding the clock back a little bit before you had the gray hairs, if we can. You're a Florida guy, Florida native, probably pre-air conditioning, I would assume. And so...
What's up with all these old age references?
So growing up in Florida is a great experience to see, obviously, how the market has matured. Going to school here and so forth. Kind of talk about a little bit about your background here growing up in Florida.
Yeah, I was fortunate to grow up in Cocoa Beach during the heyday of the space program. And so just watching the Apollo missiles go off, and in town was always celebrities and journalists, and it was just such a wonderful community because it was kind of a beach surf community, but then this major international program was going on, people from all over the world coming through there. They always say, don't worry about it, it's not rocket science. All of my friends' parents in high school were rocket scientists. And so just the conversations around dinner, and there was such a optimism about the future and about Florida and how we were leading the way. And it was a great time. It was a great place to grow up. And eventually went on to the University of Florida, go Gators, got to give a plug. And then did some grad work at Florida State, and I worked for Bob Graham when he was governor before he went on to the Senate. I was an aide for him. But there wasn't much in the entrepreneurial way back then. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even thought of as a real profession. I remember when I first started my first company and I came back to Florida, my parents would take me to their friend's house and they would say, "This is our son, Michael. He's an entrepreneur," which is a fancy way of saying he doesn't have a real job.
I wrote that one down because I still may use it.
Serial entrepreneur.
Exactly.
It wasn't a cool thing to do. But the computer age was upon us. The personal computer had just come out. I knew it was going to change the world. And I said that, all of my friends were going into banking, going into tourism. And I just no, I got to do this computer thing. I just know it's going to change the world, and ended up starting a company early on and did quite well. And just one led to another, and I've been doing it ever since. So I rode the computer wave, software, internet, mobile phone introduction, and now I'm just so enamored with AI and its potential. I think it's fundamental. It's a bedrock, just like the computer introduction of the personal computer was a bedrock, and the introduction of the internet and the introduction of smartphones. I think AI is the next big wave, and I can't miss it. As long as I can breathe and kick as an entrepreneur, I want to be part of the wave.
So let's talk about that wave. AI obviously is one of the buzz themes that's going on right now, and we're really at the beginning of the infancy as far as I'm concerned. So let's talk about your big project right now, and I'm assuming AI has some connectivity to what you're doing.
It does. I'm fascinated by personal stories. I grew up being a documentary junkie. I love real life stories. And arguably, the most important story to people is their own story and their hardships, their trials and tribulations, raising a family, having kids, going off, getting into college, going to college, getting married, all of those things. And unfortunately, the stories die with the storyteller. They're just usually never written. It's something you do over Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you hear about these old stories. I grew up, my mom and my uncles and were just great Irish storytellers. And I was always enamored with this great tribal history that we had. And then they just weren't being documented. And so I started about 10 years ago, I started becoming enamored with, okay, how do we help people tell their life stories, share their lessons, their trials and tribulations? How do we help them preserve their family heritage? And what I saw was missing in the whole family heritage, we have family trees, you have Ancestry, and you have MyHeritage, and it's all about the branches, and you could go back generations, grandfathers and great-grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers. And so we have this family heritage of trees and branches, but the branches are empty. There are no stories on any of these trees. And it's because most people don't feel like they're good storytellers. They don't know how to weave a narrative. And today, in the multimedia, social media world we live in, people expect high production values. And so I created Leaves to give people their own virtual biographer. So as they go through life, all they have to do is voice record or type their thoughts, their experiences, and the stories are written for them by their virtual biographer. And that's the power of AI. So it's not trying to create a false narrative. It's only using that person's experiences and their feelings and who they're connected with. And it's telling the story for them because lots of people just are not good writers.
So how does how old is the business now? You said you sort of had some thoughts about it maybe in the last 5 or 6 years.
So,
and then,
Yeah, it was about 10 years ago, but of course, AI wasn't here yet. We didn't have text to speech. We didn't have speech to text. We didn't have good multimedia. Bandwidth was not great. Most people's photos were still in scrapbooks. And so the technology wasn't quite there to do what I wanted to do. But I kept the idea, I kept incubating the idea, I kept doing research. We've amassed 30,000 questions on every aspect of people's life story. And we can, the toys that you played with when you were growing, I mean, and now we can populate AI with those questions, with the things that resonate with people, that transport them back into time and will help them relive that experience. The virtual biographer can actually play the music that was playing the day they graduated high school to transport them back into that time. And they go, oh, I can remember. And then they start, and then, we've run hundreds of tests, and then people, their memories just click in when you can provide them, we can help them relive that experience in a deep emotional way. And the stories that we hear are incredible. I don't know if if you listen to The Moth, for example, which is a great storytelling feature. Storyworth is another one. But these are stories of everyday people living extraordinary lives. And so And the technology is now ready for it.
It seems like it's in part, and you could kind of tell by your face, that this is also a real passion project for you. That it's not, and maybe there's a stage that you're in. You've had, some successful businesses in the past, a mature entrepreneur. Is how much of that, of the passion project versus, is this versus a money making opportunity to scale the business, or is it both?
Jim, that is such an insightful. I mean, the fact that you could read that in me, the catalyst was I bought my parents a home to retire in Pass Christian, Mississippi in 2003. And in 2005, a 25-foot wave called Katrina came in and wiped their house off the map. They barely got out. A lot of their neighbors died. But 79 years of my family heritage was wiped away. All the family photo albums, all of the documents, marriage certificates, birth certificates, my dad's military records. My whole heritage was gone like that. And here I am raising 3 kids, and I really was excited about passing my heritage down to them. All of these family photo albums and scrapbooks and keepsakes, it was all gone.
Wow.
And I realized at that point that there has to be a mechanism to not only help people preserve these artifacts, of their history and who they are and where they came from, but to help them tell these stories. And so that was the catalyst. So thank you for seeing that in me. I'm very passionate about it. It's not a money thing for me at all. And I was able to, through AI and through reaching out to people who were in my parents' wedding 50 years ago, I was able to piece back together about 70 to 80% of my lost family heritage. And so I was just determined not make sure it wasn't going to happen to anybody else. And as I go around the country and talk to people, I give talks at active retirement community centers, for example, everyone raises their hand. I lost my stuff in the flood in Minnesota. I lost my stuff in a fire. Oh, my brother took it. We had a falling out years ago and I haven't seen it. I've lost all those photos. It just, my heart just, I just get crushed on all of these stories of people feeling this great sense of loss when their heritage is gone. So I'm determined to help people to preserve it.
So it's funny, I'm having chest pains right now because for a number of years, I'm intrigued with what you're doing. I want to know how to take advantage of it. I grew up in this era, the same era as you, Jim, I think. Although I did get my AARP. They're hacking me every week in my mailbox right now.
I've been including you in the more the gray hair.
What's going on? I'm not there yet. But although 3 years ago when I started this job, I didn't have gray hair. Just so you know, I grew up in this era where everything was a camera, like real film. And you've got all of these like Kodak moments in cardboard boxes that candidly right now, they're not even in this country. They're back home in Canada where I grew up. And I don't know if I'll ever get my hands on them for a number of reasons. And then with the advancement of technology and everything's digital now, I feel like there's been this valley that's sort of been created where I'm never going to look at my memories because they're there right now, but we don't look at them like we do traditional photo albums, as an example. I'm just really curious, and I was a little intrigued with your model. I did do a little Googling on you, and I did find a YouTube video that showed what it is that you're creating, and it said no money. And I was curious if I was hearing this correctly, that if I want to do something with leaves, I don't actually have to pay to do it?
Well, I'm fortunate in my life to have been able to create enough wealth where I can provide this kind of platform for people to get started for free. And so, yes, you can create an entire summary biography of your life with an interactive map of all the places you've lived. And you can zoom in on the house you grew up in and the school where you went to school and where you got married. So it creates an interactive map and an interactive timeline from the day you were born to present and all of the major milestones. And it's all weaved together in a narrative story that's told in historical context, and it's all free. And so that's the first stage. The next stage, which we'll be launching in November, is the virtual biographer, which will interview you about specific key events in your life, John. So like how you met your sweetheart, or what they call the meet cute story, your defining moment in life. And that's where you pay a couple bucks to have the AI write the story for you in real time. So it's a freemium, and that gets you started with this great foundation, and then give you a virtual biographer for the rest of your life to tell these stories as you live.
So, Michael, one of the things I always appreciated about you is the Irish humility, and you've been an entrepreneur for many years, and an educator working with Broward College with some of the startup programs there. You've helped support, perhaps hundreds of entrepreneurs, help build their businesses. You're now in the startup mode yourself. So let me ask you, what is that experience like now, where you were teaching, being an educator, mentoring startups, and now you have your own startup? Are you your own harshest critic at this point? And are you using some of the things that you taught and being self-applied?
Totally. You have to eat the dog food, right? So, I taught it for many years. I still mentor. I mentor for VMT, for Broward College. I teach at University of Miami's what they call their crash course in entrepreneurship for pre-freshmen. I love the teaching part of it. But yes, I try to apply all of the things that I have learned over 30 plus years, and that I teach, and I try to apply it to my startup. And it's hard, which is why, there's one of my first mentors taught me, you can't be third party objective when you're first party active. And so I'm surrounding myself now with mentors who are telling me what to do because I can't see it clearly like they do.
Well, I always appreciate an Irishman as well. So I went to school I did my PhD in Cardiff, Wales in the UK, which was a ferry ride from Ireland, Cork. And I used to spend a lot of time there in taking in some of the Irish assets, as you will. And I developed a nickname, and I was Liam. And I could fool any Irishman after a Guinness and a Jameson that I was actually from Ireland.
Or two Guinnesses.
Or two, yes. And what I really appreciate is there are entrepreneurs, and then there are entrepreneurs. And what I'm appreciating about what I'm hearing with our conversation is that it's always a lifelong learning process for you. You're not afraid to jump in the game and do something interesting and neat and innovative. And we have a lot of entrepreneurs at different stages that'll be listening and watching this, from I'm a first time, I don't know how to be an entrepreneur, to I'm already in the market, I've been successful, and a little of everything in between. Given the history of everything that you've accomplished in your lifetime, what kind of advice would you give to an early stage founder that wants to be you or have the same measurable success that you've had?
So the biggest the biggest piece that entrepreneurs don't see, the imperative of an entrepreneur is working on the right things in the right order. And I wrote a book about this called Startup Stepping Stones. The problem with many entrepreneurs is their product isn't even done yet, and they're working on their pitch deck, and they're reaching out to investors. They're jumping way ahead of the game. They don't even have a customer yet. They don't have product market fit, but they're already doing social media. So the advice I would give people is take your idea, focus on the right things in the right order. Don't jump too far ahead. Get that thing really right, get it solidified, then move on to the next stepping stone, and then the next stepping stone. And focus on one product, one business model, one channel, marketing channel first, one revenue stream. So many entrepreneurs, they pitch me like, oh, we're going to do subscriptions, and we're going to do advertising, and then we're going to do some lead gen, and we've got this model and that model, and we've got 5 different products. And I'm like, you'd not even be able to do one of these well. You've probably seen this too, right? Guys, it's the keep it simple and just really do one thing super, super well and nail that and get traction with that. And then parlay that and doing the right things in the right order. And it's the biggest thing I have to teach at Broward College and University of Miami and the venture mentoring team. All of these entrepreneurs are working on the wrong things I always have to say, stop, back up. You're not even in the ballpark.
This is funny. I mean, it's very valuable advice, and it's so true, so accurate. And I come from the aviation industry, and my previous career, I was an airline startup person. And you know how many people would reach out to me? Hey, I'm starting an airline. Oh, are you? Because like 1 in 3,000, talk about it. But and how many I've got a website already. I'm starting an airline, or I've done a press release. I'm starting an airline, but they don't have a business plan. They don't have any FAA out. They have no money. They have nothing. But it's very valuable.
Certainly not in the air.
Yeah, no, it's a little challenging business to get into. But I appreciate the guidance and advice because that's extremely valuable.
And it's great wisdom for sure. The Leaves Legacy Project. So where's the business today, and then where do you see it, continuing its maturation, Michael?
Great question. Thanks. So we're at the MVP stage. So we launched our first app, which is called Timeless Tales, and that's where you can create your entire summary biography of your life free of charge with the interactive map and timeline. That's live. It's free. In November, we're launching the follow-on app, which is the virtual biography. We want everyone to have their own personal virtual biographer who will interview them about their lived experiences as they live them, or they can look back and talk about those, like the day they met their spouse and the day their son was born, whatever. So that's the second phase. The third phase will be partnering. It's going to be so important for us to connect with the people who are doing ancestry already, doing family heritage. That's going to be a sort of go-to-market for us. And we also see these stories becoming a new form of the greeting card. So for Valentine's Day, your anniversary, rather than, going to the store and buying a $10 card, which is what they cost today, and, that someone else wrote a sentiment and writing it down and giving it to somebody, we see Leaves virtual biographer creating little vignettes that you can give as gifts and as a greeting card and as for stories. Like you guys have probably attended a lot of weddings. What you hear at weddings is how did you meet? Right? You hear those stories and you see little slideshows of the couples when they, before they met. The virtual biographer can create all of those things for you. So we see it evolving into different ways to apply this technology to help you document your life, but also give stories as gifts to friends and loved ones and relatives. Whether or not we'll take VC money or we'll just end up partnering with someone and get acquired, it's too early to tell. I'm 66 years old. I feel like I'm being too old to build another company. So I'm open to how that's going to evolve. We'll see.
Well, I don't know what else to say, but I think this is kind of amazing. And there's an interesting technology that we're actually bringing here to the Levan Center of Innovation that's probably worthy of a discussion with you as well. It's called volumetric capture technology, where we're building a studio, and they exist around the world, but they're not publicly accessible in most cases. But imagine walking into a dome with 74 cameras and sensors that captures you and all of your movement, and then we can create your digital twin and superimpose you into any environment that you dream of, from where the hospital you were born into your future partner that you haven't met yet. I think there's some cross collaboration here.
That is so cool, John.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's about, well, it's less than 60 days away. We're building it as we speak, right this very second.
I've got to come see that.
Absolutely.
They say everything on Star Trek always ends up coming true, and then so it's the holodeck is being materialized here at the Innovation Center. I love it.
Oh, yeah. I love that. That's fabulous. I mean, I think Florida could be the epicenter of this whole revolution. Yeah, it's
You
awesome.
got it. You got it.
So, Michael, how do potential prospects or customers reach the Leaves Legacy Project?
Just leaves.us.
Simple enough.
That's easy. I
That was
like
easy.
it. It's not complicated.
Well, he's a serial
I
entrepreneur. He
love
knows
it.
how to make things easy. So
Yeah.
a frictionless experience. So Michael O'Donnell, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. You're a true entrepreneur. Great success to you, and good luck in the future for sure.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, guys. And keep up the great work, spreading the word.
Thank you.
We will.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it.
Remember to subscribe, like, and share the Sunshine Startups Live podcast and follow us on social media. If you're interested in sponsoring or appearing on the show, please email us at booking@sunshinestartups.live.